Hi everybody, my name is Alec. I'm with Alec's Chess Club in Studio City, California, and today we're going to be talking about imbalances. Imbalances in chess basically just means any difference at all in the position. Like sometimes, say if you've ever been in a game and you didn't really know what to do next, that you thought, well, this looks pretty much the same. He's got the same amount of pieces that I do. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So the imbalances, if you know what to look for, can really help you to know what kind of a plan to come up with. Okay, so they're tiny little differences that may not seem to be that significant, but if you know how to use them, you can win more games. So we're going to take each imbalance. I'm going to give you an example of most of the imbalances tonight. Just going to give you a brief overview, and we'll do more in detail later on. Okay, so here is the first one. The first imbalance, actually, let me give you an overview first. It's superior minor piece is the first one. Pawn structure, space, material, control of a key file, control of a whole, lead in development, initiative, king safety, and then statics versus dynamics. Hopefully I didn't skip any right there. So we're going to start with the first one and just work our way down. Okay, so here we go. Superior minor piece. What that means is that you have a piece, and let's say it's like this. Let's say that so black has a bishop and white has a knight. Black has two pawns and white has two pawns. So really, as far as the material goes, it's exactly even. There's no difference at all. But if you can, as you can see, one of these pieces is superior to the other. Can you tell which one is better? The better one is definitely the bishop. And by the way, some of these examples are going to be very exaggerated because I just wanted to be really clear what the difference is. So in this situation, the bishop is way better. And white has his two pawns going up, but they're stuck because of these two pawns. This knight, he would love to get out of this corner, but he can't because if he moves to f2, well, he can't move to f2 because of his pawn, and he can't move to g3 for the same reason, because of his own pawn. Meanwhile, his king is way off over here, and so black's going to be able to go up to e2 and then take on g2. Oh, I'm sorry, he can't take there. But he could go to f1, and he could go to g1, and then he's going to be able to kill this knight because the knight is trapped by his own pieces. Whereas this bishop has long diagonals. He can go wherever he wants to go on the board. And if nothing else, he's aiming at this pawn right here. And so, but between the two of them, they'd be able to take it anyway. So, and especially once this knight's dead, he'd be able to take it. Okay, so let's do the opposite thing. Let's say, well, that's superior minor piece. Okay, so now we're going to move on to pawn structure. All right. So pawn structure is basically anything to do with pawns. Any setup at all is a pawn structure. So let's say that this is the way it is for black. We've got this, and then we've got white's pawns are all very nice. Okay, so let's say this is the situation. Okay, these are called double isolated pawns. These are doubled. This is isolated all by itself. And any group of pawns at all are called an island. So right now, white, as you can see, has one big, long island. They're all connected. They're all helping each other. He can defend him. If this moves forward now, he can defend him. Or he, like that. So this is what's considered to be very healthy. The fewer pawn islands you have, the better. So white has only one pawn island. It's perfect. Black, on the other hand, has a disaster for his pawns. He has double isolated pawns here. He's got a cluster of pawns here in the middle. These are doubled. And then this is isolated as well. So right now, can you tell how many islands black has? Black has 1, this is 2, and this is 3. So white has 1 and black has 3. So it may not seem like a big difference, but that is a big difference. But black's pawn, and the problem with this being isolated is because it's all by itself, which means it's going to be easier for it to get killed because none of the other pawns can protect it. Like this pawn is protected because of this, and this one's also protecting this, and this one's protecting this. But in this case, or with these, there's no way to protect them at all. So, at least not with other pawns. So just the fact that white's pawns are nice and that none of them are doubled is going to make it easier for white to have an advantage. He's probably going to do better, if not win. Okay, so the third one is space. And let's say go like this. Okay, and space is just what it sounds like. It's who has more room. Because if I have a lot of room and you don't have a lot of room, that means I can move my pieces wherever I want. Like say, if I'm white here, if you pretend that my pawns are sort of like a fence, and everything behind the fence is what you own. So I have all these squares I can move pieces to. Like if you say I have rooks back here and a bishop and knights, I can move them wherever I feel like moving them. Whereas black's situation is totally the opposite. Black has almost nowhere that he can move. Because like he's got just, like if this is his fence, then he's hardly got anywhere to go at all. So the fact that white has more space is going to give him a much bigger advantage, gives him more options, more places to go. Okay, the next one is material. And material is kind of self-explanatory. Material is just how many pieces you have. And that's what most beginners judge their game on. They say, oh, well, I've got more material. I've got 2 bishops and he's only got 1. Or I've got 2 rooks and he's only got 1. So you've taken something of theirs, which it is one way to tell who's winning, but it's by far not the only one. All of the imbalances together are what help you to know whether you're winning or not. You could be winning in material, but if you're losing in other areas, then you could be losing, which you'll see that in a minute. Okay, so the next one is control of a key file. So let's say that we got this situation. Okay, so right now, white is the one who has control of the key file. The key file being this one. So you've got three different kinds of files. If you've got a white pawn and a black pawn, like these, on each file, then that's called closed. So this is closed, this is closed, this is closed, this is closed. All of them are closed, except for the E file. So since the E file is the only one that's open, then that's a key file. So the fact that white has his rook on it and black doesn't, that means that white's the one that has control of the key file. And like, he can't play E8 because then the rook can just kill the other rook. So having it on the file like this, the next thing he's going to be able to do is move up to E7, and then he's going to be able to start munching on some of these pawns. So that is control of a key file. Control of a hole, let's say it's like this. Alright. So if you pretend that, like, say, this right here, let's say that white has a knight right here. So this square right here is called a hole because if there were a pawn here and it were attacking this square, then it would be covered and it wouldn't be a hole. But since there is no pawn here, since the pawn is moved up to here, he can't do anything about this square. And this pawn, if it were way back here, would be defending this square. But since he's forward like this, then that means this is a hole. It's a chance for me to jump in there and land a knight. And there's not really that much that black can do about it other than trade it for another piece. So what you want to do with a hole is you want to occupy it with a knight or possibly a bishop. And then from here, he's protected by this pawn, so now he's got all these great squares that he can attack. All those different squares. So that is a hole. And if you're the one controlling the hole, you've got a good thing going. Okay, then lead in development. Lead in development is just at the beginning of the game. It's whether, like say, you've got 4 of your, anything that you've got on the back row, you've brought it out. So you bring out your bishops, you bring out your knights, even bringing out your rooks, bringing out your queen, castling, all of those things are developing. So if you get ahead of me in development, then you have a much better chance of winning because you've just got more pieces that are able to attack me. So, I mean, I often use the analogy of playing basketball or soccer. Like, say, if you're playing basketball and you've got one team that has 5 people on the team out there playing, and the other team only has 1 or maybe 2, well, the team with 5 is going to win because the other guy, the one who has 2, is outnumbered. I mean, they're just totally outnumbered, so it's going to be much easier for them to win. So the faster you get developed in the beginning of the game, the better. And ideally, the way that you do that is to move each piece 1 time in the opening. That's one of the most important things to do. Okay. Initiative. Initiative basically means that you're the one calling the shots. You're the one saying, this is what I want to happen. Like, for example, say if, let's say that black wants to take this pawn. Well, he can't do that because white, let's say, just moved to e8. So now white is attacking the king. So even though black would really like to take this pawn, he can't because he's in check. So white has the initiative because white's the one doing what he wants to do and making black do what white wants. So if you can get the initiative, a lot of times people will give up a lot of material just to be able to get the initiative, because if they can get it and they can keep it, then they can sometimes win the whole game because of that. Okay, and actually, king safety is the next one. King safety is extremely important. If your king, well, this is a good example. I mean, if your king is in this situation, check. Let's say that he was here when he checked, then the king moves up, and now you take here. Well, it's not going to matter if the other guy has a whole bunch of pieces extra. The fact that that his king is in trouble loses the whole game. So king safety is one of the most important imbalances there is. And then, of course, the last thing is statics versus dynamics. These different imbalances that we're going over, some of them are slow, they're static, they last for a long time. That's what static means. It means that it lasts for a long time. Dynamic, on the other hand, is something that you have it 1 second, and then if you don't act on it right then, if you don't use it as soon as you can, then it disappears. So an example might be, I have more material than you. Let's say I have an extra rook, but you have the initiative. You're, say, attacking my king. So you've got the initiative, you're attacking my king, and if your attack works, if you get to my king before me, then you win. But you have to do it really fast, because if you give me enough time, then I've got that extra rook and I can start moving all my pieces out. And if given enough time, then I'm going to win. So if it's static, then I'm kind of trying to bide my time and make sure that I get the advantage later in the game. Whereas you have to do it really fast. So that's the difference, statics and dynamics. So that was a really quick overview of the imbalances. If you'd like to get more details on that, I mean, I will be doing some other videos, but I'm going to show you this. This is called How to Reassess Your Chess, and it's by Jeremy Silman. This is a fantastic book. This is absolutely excellent. I've talked about it before, but I can't praise it highly enough. You can get it on Amazon for very inexpensively. Okay, so that is it for today. If you'd like to come to any of our tournaments, we have tournaments on the weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays. There's more details about that on the website, and there should be a link for that on the page. Have a good night. Thanks for watching.